Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Vinyl Then, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to talk about some new releases coming out this Friday, March 1st. There's about almost 500 albums coming out this week. I got 12 on my list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's almost 500 albums coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 12 on the show today, so if there's something I don't talk about, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing this week. And like always, if you're unable to find any of these in your local brick and mortar stores, they should all be available online. I'll put links down below in the comment section for them. One release I'm really looking forward to this week is this Violent Femmes self-titled box set that's coming out. So this was released back in 1983. It was their debut album. This is a 3 LP, 1 7-inch box set being released for the 40th anniversary of the album, which I know was last year, but we're getting it this year. It's going to run you about $120 online. I love this album. It's easily one of my favorite albums of the 80s. You got some great tracks on here. Of course, Blister in the Sun, Added Up, Please Do Not Go were like 3 big tracks that everyone knows off this album. I think all the other great tracks on the album is really what makes this album special. It's all newly remastered. You get some extra stuff on here too. There's some B-sides, there's some live recordings, there's some demos, stuff that hasn't been available in a really long time. Some of it's never been released before. Like I said, one of my favorite albums of the 80s, one I'm definitely looking forward to grabbing this week. And then you also got The Who, Live at Shea Stadium coming out. This is a 3 LP release. This is all this is all recorded during the It's Hard tour in 1982. It's going to run you about $40 online. This is the last tour that the band would go on until 1989. It was the last tour with Kenny Jones on drums. I think it's really kind of the end of this really classic period for The Who. I think there's 24, 25 tracks on here. A lot of it is from It's Hard, but they also go through a lot of course, the best known stuff from the band's catalog. You know, in some of these tracks, the band would never perform live again. So it's, like I said, it's kind of cool to go through and check out that great end, the end of that great period for the band. We are getting an RSD Essentials album this week. That is the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, released back in 1966. It was their 11th studio album. This is going to be on Coke Bottle Clear Vinyl. It's going to run you around $35. So this is something that's only going to be available in your brick and mortar store. So I'll put a link down below to one of my local record stores if you want to grab a copy of this online. You know, Pet Sounds, you know, say what you will about it. I think it's one of the most influential albums of all time, one of the best albums of all time. I think what made this so special. So the Beach Boys, you know, of course, were hugely popular in the mid 60s. And with Pet Sounds, it's easily their most experimental album. And I think what makes it so successful is so many different genres that they blended into this album. I mean, you got pop in there, but you got some psychedelic rock. There's some classical. There's some jazz in there. That's all kind of melded together to really make this really interesting album. Like I said, one that I've absolutely loved for a long time. I've got a copy of it already, so I can pass on this RSD version that's coming out this week. And there's a bunch of jazz albums coming out. The first one is Freddy Hubbard, Red Clay. This was released back in 1970. This is music on vinyl release. Limited to 1,500 copies. It's going to be on gold and red marble vinyl. Going to run you about $35 online. This is the first album that was released on Creed Taylor's new label. I think it's CTI, I think is what the label was called. I can look, yeah. CTI was the record label. You know, and this was a really interesting album for Freddie. So I like the early part of Freddie's career. And with this album, and then moving forward, he really used this like jazz fusion, like soul jazz, kind of moving forward. And it's definitely different than what Freddie did early in his career. It's really interesting, though, if you're unfamiliar with it. I'd highly recommend checking it out. But he's got a great lineup on here. He's got Joe Henderson, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, Lenny White. As far as like the soul jazz fusion stuff that Freddie did, I think this is probably the best album in that subgenre that he did moving forward. You also got 2 releases coming out from the Blue Note Tone Poet series this week. Both of them are going to run you around $39. The first one is Jackie McLean Action, or Action, which way you want to call it. So this was recorded in 64. It wasn't released until 1967, so I don't know why there was a 3-year gap on there. So this was recorded during released during the peak of Jackie's career. And this is actually the album that got me into Jackie McLean. Probably maybe 8 or 12 months ago, started getting more into his stuff. And this is the album I really fell in love with first time I heard it. It's got a great lineup on here, too. He's got Charles Tolliver, Bobby Hutcherson, Cecil McBee, and Billy Higgins on here. Of course, with anything with Blue Note, it's all mastered by Kevin Gray for the original analog tapes. pressed RTI. This thing's going to sound absolutely fantastic. So definitely one I'm going to grab this week. And then this next one I'm not all that familiar with, but this is Booker Ervin, Textbook Tenor, released in, this was recorded in 68. It wasn't released on its own until 2005. I guess there was a compilation in, I think it was like mid-70s, so it was like 76, 77. And then there's another compilation in the late 80s. I think it was 88 when the second compilation came out. Had most of this album on both those compilations. But like I said, it wasn't until 2005 that this one was released on its own. I've discovered so many great albums through the Tone Poet and the Classic series that Blue Note has done over the last few years. That's another one that I'm not all that familiar with, like I said, and I'll definitely check it out this week. Same thing, it's all mastered by Kevin Gray, pressed RTI. It's going to sound absolutely fantastic, I'm sure. You also got 2 releases coming out this week from the Craft Recordings Original Jazz Classic series. Neither one of these albums I'm really all that familiar with, but I do love the musicians involved on them. The first was Art Blakey, Caravan. This was released back in 1963. I love everything that I've heard from Art over his career. I've got maybe 4 or 5 of his albums. I love all of them. So this is definitely one I'm interested in checking out. This is the first album that Art and the Jazz Messengers did with the Riverside Records. It's got a great lineup on here too. You got Freddie Hubbard, Curtis Fuller, Wayne Shorter, Cedar Walton, Reggie Workman, just like a who's who of early 60s jazz musicians. Like I said, this one's going to be a really cool release. This same thing with the Blue Note releases. These are also mastered by Kevin Gray, the pressed RTI. You can rest assured these are going to sound really good. And then the second one is Cannonball Adderley with Bill Evans. You know what I mean? This was released back in 1960. This is also going to run you about $39 online. Mastered by Kevin Gray, pressed RTI. These two guys are two of the giants in 60s jazz. And this is, like I said, same with the Art Blakey release. I'm not familiar with this one, so it's definitely one I'm looking to grab this week. You also get the reissue of Kix, Blow My Fuse, coming out this week. This was released back in 1988. It was their 4th studio album. It's going to be on aqua vinyl. I think there's also a couple other color variants that are coming out this week. It's going to run you about $38. This is a really cool thing. This is the one thing I love about Friday music, and music on vinyl in particular, is both of those labels go back through stuff from the 80s and 90s, stuff that wasn't like hugely popular, and repress them. And it's really cool because this wasn't a huge album. I think there was only one big hit off this album when it came out, and I was never a huge fan of this album, but it's one I need to revisit because I haven't listened to it in 25 plus years. So this was one that so the last pressing of this, so it was released in 88. It got pressed in 1990 again, and then it wasn't available on vinyl from 1990 until 2015. So when it got reissued in 2015, those pressings went for a couple $100. They sold out pretty quick. I think it was pretty limited release. And then after that, it wasn't available again until late last year. It got pressed again. And if you want to grab a copy of those are 50, 60 plus bucks online. So it's cool to be able to grab another copy of this week. Like I said, it's definitely one I need to go back through and check out because I haven't listened to it in quite a few years. And then you also got the new album Kula Shaker coming out. This is Natural Magic. So this was actually released back in February. It was their 7th studio album. When it got released, I think there was 3 different color variants that were released back in February. All of them were pretty limited. So this week we're getting a black release. I think this is like the larger, like standard release that they're doing for the album. But this is the first time that the original lineup of the band has been together since '99. I guess I should add that if you're unfamiliar with Kula Shaker, definitely go back through and check them out. They're a really kind of unique band started in the mid '90s. They had some success with their first 2 albums, so like mid to late '90s. I think their second album came out in '99. It had some mainstream success, really kind of cool blend of, alternative rock with some psychedelic rock in there. Like I said, really cool to go back through and check that band out. The next album is one I was a little surprised to see get reissued already. This is the RSD Black Friday release from last year. That is still pretty easy to pick up in your local record stores. You can pick them up online also. But this is Linkin Park Lost Demos. It's going to run you about $24. So the RSD version that came out last year was on blue vinyl. You're getting a standard black vinyl release of it this week. This is all recorded during the Meteora recording sessions, which I think is the pinnacle of the band's career. In my opinion, it's one of the best albums of the 2000s. Absolutely love it. So this stuff was, these songs, I think there's 14 tracks on here, only released in the Meteora 20th anniversary box set. So it was only available on CD. Then for a record store day last year, we got it released on vinyl. Some of these tracks are really cool. If you want to go through, they're all available on streaming services. So you get that one coming out this week, like I said. you know, it's one that you can still pick up pretty easily. And the last one on my list is the Allman Brothers Band, An Evening with the Allman Brothers Band. This was released back in 1992. So this is two different versions of this album. There's a first set version and then there's a second set version. This is the first set that's getting reissued this week. So this is going to run you about $66 online, which I know is a lot. It's a 2 LP release. It's going to be on black and blue swirl vinyl. So this is all recorded in late 91 and early 92, whereas the second set, I think, was recorded in 94 and released in 95. This is another one of those Freddie Music releases. Freddie Music does a really good job with a lot of these reissues. So this one wasn't available on vinyl until 2020. And then when it was released, it was remastered in 2020. This is a reissue of that 2020 release. And I think it was also released, there's 2 releases, I think, in 2020. The other second 2020 release was on a different color. This is the same release as what that first Friday Music release was. We got 9 tracks across 2 LPs. It was recorded in Macon, Georgia in 91, and then Boston, Massachusetts, and New York in 92. So, you know, it's cool one to go back through and check out. For $66, so I think it's a lot. I'll definitely pass on it. It's one I can just stream, or you can pick it up on CD. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up this week. I think it's a big week for jazz. Of course, I'm going to grab that Jackie McLean album. I'll probably grab that Art Blakey. I'll probably grab that Cannonball Adderley. I might grab that Who. I'll probably grab that Violent Femmes box set also. So, like I said, lots of great stuff coming out this week. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.